Hello and welcome to day 55 of my 365-day iPhone video challenge. Paul Sandaga, who's the head of industry at Google, famously said there's no team without trust. And what a study at Google found was that in terms of high-performing teams, one of the greatest indicators was that if the members of the team felt psychologically safe. John Gottman, who looks at trust in relationships, talks about what our partners do, we will do, in terms of that if we come home in the evening and our partner listens and is interested and sincere and is consistent, we will do the same thing. We will start to reciprocate those things that we value. Now that's quite an interesting idea, because actually then Paul Zak, who is a neuroscientist, he started to look at when you see groups that trust each other. He started to do blood tests and MRI scans, and he's found that oxytocin is released from the brain, and that he believes that is the trust molecule. Now, there's some debate whether that is the case or not, but certainly what seems to happen is that if there was a famous study where Zach took blood from people at a wedding, and their oxytocin levels were through the roof because they were at a wedding. And actually, if those people knew the bride personally, their oxytocin levels were raised even more. And there's something about this oxytocin chemical, the cuddle chemical, they call it, the love chemical, that he thinks promotes trust. And that if you feel that you trust people and people trust you, this chemical is automatically produced. Now, what I'm more interested in, whether there's a chemical or not in your brain that does it, is that I believe that trust is reciprocal. And therefore, for us to be in a high trust environment, we have to display empathy, caring, consistency, listening, make people feel safe. Lencioni, who's a business management guru, wrote a very famous book called Dysfunctions of a Team, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. He talks about an absence of trust as one of the biggest predictors of team dysfunction. And what he talks about is that he talks about predictive trust and vulnerability-based trust. Now, predictive trust is when, because we spend a lot of time with people we work with, we can predict their behavior. Well, if I say that, you will do that. And that's great, and that's a form of trust, but it's not the same as vulnerability-based trust. And vulnerability-based trust is when we can admit a mistake to a colleague, when we can say we're sorry to a colleague, when we can say, I don't know what to do in this situation. Have you got an idea? To this colleague. And that is a big, very scary thing for an awful lot of people. Most people never want to show any kind of vulnerability to a colleague. They might show vulnerability to a loved one at home because they feel safe, but they won't necessarily do that to a colleague. So over the next few days, we'll talk about how we can create a trusting relationship at work and how we can be vulnerable at work. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.